I'm gonna ask two very big questions. You don't have to answer them at the same time because they're very big. The first one, I'll ask them at the same time and you can like tackle how you want. But the first one, for a lot of young people as well, like similar thing, they're trying to find their own identity in a lot of ways. And so how do you start finding your values and how do you start finding your purpose in order to sort of align those two together? Are they the same thing? Like, are they like, what are they and like, how do you find them?
Right. You know, so, okay. Yeah, no, that's a very, wow.
It's a very big question.
Those are, yeah, big questions. I mean, we're all living under certain values. Every day when we wake up in the morning, we do certain decisions, or we make certain choices because we find particular value in it, you know, and we hold those values dear to us. That's why we make those certain choices. So when we start to meditate and to take that time to ourselves, it's basically having an understanding of where our values are in totality, or even though it might not be in totality, but in a much grander scale. Like, what do I believe in? What are my core beliefs? What's my, you know, how am I viewing this world? What does happiness mean for me? You know, that's a question I could even throw at you. Like, what does happiness mean for you? And it doesn't mean that then that becomes your fixed thing, but once you identify that, then as you carry on living life, you could redefine what that happiness means. When I was a kid, happiness meant having loads of money. I could do whatever I want, you know. As I started growing up, happiness for me meant close connections and family. You know, as I grew up and I found these teachings.
Those are two like fairly different things in terms of one's like a future outlook on happiness and one's a current outlook on happiness.
Right.
And it's like, what makes you happy? That's my point here in terms of like delayed gratification, because you think your current state and your future state are the same, when in actual fact they could, you know, drastically be different.
I mean, if you choose to have certain values at present, they don't need to change ultimately, you know? So fine, the point, or let's say with that example that you've given, is that your goal is that you're gonna delay your gratification right now so that you can ultimately achieve something greater later.
Yeah.
So you're working on this principle, or your value is that you work hard now and enjoy later, right? So then you invest in that now. And then once you even get to that stage of enjoyment, you'll realize, okay, this is an opportunity for me to invest in something else and keep on working. You know, so your values haven't changed, but you have a clear understanding of the values that you run by, right?
Yeah.
So you're still on the same value principle. And it's manifesting even in your different changes of life. So you're still working with the same principle of work hard, enjoy later, even once you've reached that goal. Got you. So, you know, you don't lose by having an understanding of what those values are. And you also don't lose in not knowing what those values are, but at least there's an attempt to get that understanding. I think that's
those values then. So how do you stumble across them?
Yeah, I mean, wow. Right. I mean, if you self-assess, you understand how you know, meditation. Yeah, that meditation and introspection, journaling is a powerful one, you know, where you like look back and you think, okay, this is how I think, you know. I've been scanning my past couple of days and I've realized that I'm an opportunist. I remember looking at my, actually, this is just my own personal confession. I was going through my journal and I don't really journal that often, but I try my best to be as regular. So even if it's like once or twice a week, I give it a shot. And I was looking back, and as I was reading, it was literally like, and I did this, like a couple weeks ago, and looking back to like all the stuff I'd written from around 2019. And there was not much, but it was significant enough to make me identify that one thing about me is that I am an opportunist. If I don't see an opportunity within a person, I evade them and I look for a person I see an opportunity with. And that has its pros and it has its cons, you know? And so I realized, wait, I overlook so many people who might have so much potential just because the way I think is that, oh, they don't have value, even if they do. You know, so I got to identify that from myself just by meditation and introspection. And so now, whoever I meet, I try to find value in them regardless of whether I think that they're great or not. They might have something to teach me, you see? So I learned that through my meditative practice, through introspection, through looking at how my thought patterns and how they've been journeying. So that's been number one. And then number two is being in the association of like-minded persons, because then they reflect to you that, yeah, this is where your mentality is, and how do you think about that? And then you can start to be like, oh, wait, actually, I've been working things out like this. Maybe I should re-strategize. Maybe I should reassess.
Yeah.
And then from there, you get closer to what you find your values to be, right? You are who you surround yourself with. I see all these guys, they're watching all these videos of, I'll teach you how you can make $1 million in the next 6 months. And then they watch a couple and you see them starting to embody that mood of, you know what, I ain't got no time. I have to go to the gym from like 2:30 and do this and that and this. So that because they've surrounded themselves that energy, they're finding that that's where their values are. Because these people that they're listening to are preaching to them or giving them that understanding that this is what your value should be. Invest in this, do this.
But my argument there would be like, how much of that is it's actually them, or how much of it is actually like them trying to embody someone.
Right. So that's why you need the right kind of association that instead of them just feeding you with information that you can bounce in conversation with. Because then from there you can understand your thinking. You can understand they're just acting as like a mirror that's reflecting to you where you're at, rather than just feeding you, because in that situation you're then just embodying somebody else's life rather than trying to redefine it for yourself.
I see that a lot, especially with young people, in terms of like, because there's so much stimuli, there's just like so much to take in, like there's
all over.
There's social media, there's TV, there's celebrities, there's us, like there's just so many things that people can take in to either reflect or kind of like mirror what they're already kind of thinking. But like I don't know what the sort of question here is that I'm asking is, but like, how much of it is distraction? How much of it is trying to find your own values?
Yeah, I would say if it's probing you to act, if it's probing you to go out there and be confident to make mistakes and experiment and do something, then it's good for you. That would be like my judge, in that sense, that wherever you're getting information from, is it inspiring you to make the steps closer towards your purpose or towards the journey that you've envisioned for yourself? Do those principles align with the values that you've set for yourself? And we all have our internal values. We all know what we believe in. Like I was hanging out with my friends the other day, and I'm a vegetarian, and I've made that like my established value that, I am a vegetarian. And they were there talking about, their ham sandwich and the amazingness in that. And I didn't let that affect me because I was rooted within my understanding of my values. So even when they reflected something to me or they bounced something off with me, I stood my ground in my values. They were appreciative of that. And they were like, you know what, I respect that, you're not fazed by the fact that we're eating meat or we're discussing it and you're still comfortable.
That's another sort of arm of like being comfortable in oneself, right? Like you can bounce those things off.
Exactly, because you have self-see. So it all boils down to that working on the self and connecting with the self. And then once you do that, then you're not just listening to people because they say things nicely, but you're listening to them because they mirror your values. I'll be like, no, I appreciate Sina's talk because he has a similar value disposition as I do, So I connect with some of my teachers based on that. Like I hear them sharing and I'm asking them questions and I feel like we have a similar element of reasoning. So then I'm comfortable in taking guidance and shelter there. So that won't be a distraction because it's helping me in my character formation and in my activities and in how I live my life. But if it's not prompting that, if it's just words, and people are good with words. So if it's just words, you realize, okay, I'm doing all this, but it's not probing me to act. So you need the spaces that probe you to act, that are challenging you, in that way.